What's up, y'all? It's Wednesday. I hope everybody out there is happy and healthy, so let's go ahead and get down. And so the first thing I want to start off talking about is the fact that Usher sat down and did an interview, and he was asked about Diddy, and he said that he had nothing negative to say about Diddy. So a lot of people are upset with Usher because it seems as though that Usher is saying, hey, listen, Diddy helped me along in my career. He taught me so much as a businessman. And for that reason and that reason alone, I'm not going to drag the man, basically is what Usher is saying. Now, I'm going to be terribly honest here. There's some people within our community, and note that I said some, that are ready to click the cancel button on Usher just because he won't condemn Diddy in this particular instance, right? Usher has said in the past that he wouldn't send his kids to flavor camp, noting that he saw some inappropriate things. But as soon as he says that, hey, I have to honor and respect the man's legacy, everybody is trying to jump off ship, right? And rightfully so, you have that right. You don't have to pay attention or be connected to someone that doesn't share your same ideology. I get that in its totality. But what I want to do right here is go ahead and play the clip of what Usher said during this interview, and then I'll be back.
Be a bit controversial, but in the same way, I think many people choose to look past the reality of what our country is, the standards that we now stand on. We can't ignore the reality of the history, but in many ways, I think certain people are prosecuted and maybe not recognized for the greatness, that they offer. I don't have anything negative to say about Sean Combs because my experience was not what the world has seen and how he's been, misrepresented. I'm not saying that every man is perfect. I'm not saying that all of us don't have flaws, but I can't, with any sense of humanity, not recognize the valuable contributions that this man made for us as Black entrepreneurs, for us as businessmen, for us as people who transition, culture and ideas into something that's tangible and becomes business. So many people benefited from what he created, and I acknowledge that. And that's why I see him as legacy.
Yeah. You told Shannon Sharp you learned a lot about business during that era.
Absolutely.
What'd you learn?
Puff was a mentor, but he was like you have that really, really hard teacher, but you're watching something in real time. I think that the idea of the level of discipline that came with that time in business, especially in an era that was trying to prove itself culturally in hip hop. Now, you can't turn on the television and not see the influence of hip hop.
That's right.
For the people who actually made that appropriate and are the forefathers are people like Sean Combs. And not just in the great times that they had musically, but in the idea of being able to find ways to monetize culture and create something that was not just Black or white. It was colorless. It was green. That's who I see that man as. And that's what I choose to remember. I put respect on his name because I realized that what I learned as a businessman before I even understood what business was came as a result of seeing the incredible things that he was able to do and the way that he positioned himself as a businessman. There are trials and tribulations that come with pressures of success and power. But what we choose to do with it is what I hope that you see with me and hopefully all the people that I'm involved with, right?
All right, so you guys heard what Usher had to say, and so you have a lot of people that are saying that Usher is afraid because Diddy may be getting out soon. I want to remind you guys that he said and made those remarks about his kids not being around Diddy or going to flavor camp back in 2016 when he was on the Howard Stern show and Diddy was still out of jail. So I don't think that Usher is particularly afraid of Diddy. They may have had a conversation behind the scenes about what he said, but I don't think that his recent comments are based off of any fear. But let me keep it all the way a stack with you all. Usher is doing the same thing that some R. Kelly fans do, right? But it's just in a different arena. While Usher is praising Diddy's business acumen, a lot of people know that R. Kelly did the number 1 or number 2 on that Youngin', but y'all still praise his music. Some of y'all. Now for me, and I'm just speaking for myself here, right? I'm not trying to judge any of you who have 12 play on rotation. That's your damn business, right? For me, I don't have the ability to separate the talent from the human being. Once you've done some foul-ish like R. Kelly has done, I'm done. I don't want your music. I don't want to hear your music. And that's forever. That's just me because I have morals and values and principles. So once you cross that line, then I'm done. Now, when Usher went on to say that he felt like Diddy was being misrepresented, I feel like he was just saying that everything that came out about Diddy wasn't true. And that's facts. It wasn't. I know a lot of y'all did not like that when I said that back in the days. Y'all were in the comments talking about somebody paid you off, somebody did this. Let me tell you something. The amount of money that I've been offered to go MAGA, trust and believe me, if it was all about money, I would have went MAGA. I have morals and principles. That's just how I was raised. Because let me tell you something, it's a lot of money on that side. But you can't pay me to join either side because for those of you who've been following me tight, you know that I'm an independent, right? And so ultimately what it comes down to is that I'm just a fair individual. Listen, my mother told me a long time ago that people will not like me because I tell the truth. I'm gonna throw the truth in your face and I will not budge. If it's my truth, then it's my truth, but I'm not gonna budge on my opinion unless something overwhelmingly convinces me that I was wrong. But nonetheless, this interview that Usher did has people wanting to click that cancel button immediately. And so we'll just see how Usher's career sustain after this interview. I think he still will be a powerhouse as it pertains to his music and his overall talent. But anyway, let's move along because Jay-Z had a lot to say as well. He sat down and did the interview and he talked about how the Tony Busby accusations and stuff impacted him. And this is the first time Jay-Z really spoke about it like in an interview. We've seen the things that he said online, but I want you guys to check out this clip and then I'll be back.
2025, like looking back on the last year.
It was hard, really hard. I was like heartbroken.
Really?
Yeah, I'm glad we got right to that. You know, so we could just get that out the way.
Okay.
Like I was really heartbroken by like everything that occurred. You know, with all like, you know, we in the space now where it's just like, almost like consequence is not thought about enough. So everything is so instant. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like that whole Busby.
The civil lawsuit that was dropped, dismissed.
That shit took a lot out of me. I was angry. I haven't been that angry in a long time. Uncontrollable anger. Like you don't put that on someone. Like that's the thing that you better be super sure. It used to be like that. Like you have to be super sure before you put those kind of things on a person. Especially a person like me. Like even when we were doing the worst things, we were doing bad, we had those kind of rules. There was a line, no women, no kids. You know, you hear those sayings, but those are things that I took from the street. You know, morals, integrity,
Code.
Those things I took because we lived and died by that. So it's strict for me. Like it meant a lot to me. I took that really hard, and I knew that we was gonna walk through that. We was gonna walk through that because you know, first of all, it's not true, and the truth is, you know, at the end of the day, it still reigns supreme.
When you're feeling these feelings, how do you then bounce back and get back to being Jay-Z?
I don't know. This is the first thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
Actually, it was just like, all right, man, we played enough defense. 2026 is all offense.
All right, so you guys heard what Jay-Z had to say about the situation. Listen, I believe that Jay-Z and his wife Beyonce are guilty of a lot of things that will probably never be made public, but it was just something about Tony Busby and the accusers' inaccuracy of her story that really rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't believe it, if I'm gonna be honest. Of course, I stood in the middle because that is how I was raised, to not discredit any woman's accusations. But at the end of the day, as the story went along, I kind of felt like it was just fake. But I will say this, all of the accusations that Jay-Z had stacked against him, I was for sure that the NFL was gonna fire him from his position of managing the talent for the Super Bowl. I really did. But while Jay-Z was getting dragged online by his own people that looked like him, and in some instances, rightfully so, it was white execs that gave Jay-Z the benefit of the doubt. And that's a shame, because some of us, and again, note that I said some, we're so quick to counsel, ridicule, and critique one another and throw each other away, but it was white execs that said, nah, we're gonna sit and wait this thing out and see how it plays out. We're not gonna fire this man based off of these accusations. Now, you could say that he was getting the good old boy treatment for whatever reason. Jay-Z could be tied to this alliance or whatever the case may be that we don't know anything about, but we do suspect it, and we've been suspicious of this for quite some time. But if you leave it to some of us, Jay-Z would have been thrown in jail based off of accusations, waiting on a court date with no solidified proof. Now, last but not least, Jay-Z also chimed in as it pertains to him actually giving Kendrick Lamar the nod to perform at the Super Bowl, and he talked about it in depth. I want you guys to check this out, and I'll be back.
Kendrick for the Super Bowl. It's like, oh man, he's choosing the side and he's he's not.
Like I don't have, what do I have to do with that? I chose the guy that was having a monster year. I think it was the right choice.
Word.
It wasn't in some sort of alliance to a battle. I don't.
Yeah.
What I care about them two guys battling, like, what's that got to do with me?
Word.
Have at it. Have fun. It's almost like, not just me, by the way. They drag everybody in it. Like, everyone's part of this conspiracy to undermine Drake, I guess. But, like, what the f***? Like, what? I'm fucking Jay-Z. or due respect to him, I'm f***ing old. Do respectfully.
Word.
Like, for what? To what end?
Yeah.
It couldn't be that these guys just don't like each other.
Yeah.
And I think they haven't liked each other for a long time.
Before you had anything to do with it.
For a while.
Yeah.
I think this has been brewing, just like me and Nas was brewing.
Yeah.
It didn't happen at the Summer Jam. That happened, the Lex and TV sets, the minimum, whatever. It was a whole bunch of stuff leading up to that point.
Myth Bleak, what is the Myth Bleak slugs in your hat, right?
It was slugs in your hat. It was a bunch of like little things that led up to that point. And then when it happened, I actually regret that because I really like Nas. He's a really nice guy.
But also to your point, like I remember I was like 10 or 11 when that happened. I was like,
pick a side.
Well, I was on your side.
Yeah, I could clearly.
But
All right, so you guys heard what Jay-Z had to say about Drake and Kendrick. He basically said that he chose Kendrick because Kendrick was having a monster year and that, you know, he has no alliance to either side because he's Hov. And what does he care about? Now, he did go on to say that he doesn't necessarily care about the hip-hop battle scene presently as constructed because he feels that too many artists are hitting below the belt and taking it a bit too far. Saying things that are untrue that can tarnish someone's brand. And so for those people who thought that Jay-Z did this to be vindictive towards Drake, he's basically saying that it's not true. Kendrick had a monster year and he did make the right choice because in the past 10 years, Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime performance has been the most viewed out of every performance. Now, before I end this video, I want to ask you guys a question and I want you guys to drop down in the comments and let me know this because this seemed to be a growing sentiment online as it pertains to this interview that Jay-Z just did. Do you think that Jay-Z handpicked the interviewer? Because that's what a lot of people are thinking as it pertains to, you know, he selected all the questions and he was ready and prepared for this interview. He basically chose someone that was a fan and he knew that this person wouldn't cross the line. So I want you guys to drop down in the comments and let me know what you think about that and everything else that I talked about in this video. So if you guys have watched it to this point, go ahead and share this video. Also, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. I'll check you guys out later. Have a beautiful day.